And welcome into another episode of Tiger Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network, a Tigers podcast. Kieran Steckley, Cody Stavenhagen, Austin Jackson. We are here recording late on a Thursday night as the Tigers drop their season opener 5-4 to the Los Angeles Dodgers. A lot of kind of things to kind of get into, and like what's a big deal, what's not a big deal. Everything's a big deal because you've only played one game, so we'll kind of talk about that stuff kind of tongue in cheek. But we had Cody over there. He's actually in Dodger Stadium right now. So like that's something that every podcast has. We got a podcast recording from Dodger Stadium. So I kind of want to start out, Cody, to just kind of give your thoughts on, opening day, defending champs, the stars showing out, just wherever you want to take it. But the Tigers do start the season 0-1, but there are some things to take from it. You go in whatever direction you want.
Yeah, I am still here in Dodger Stadium, so I apologize for any noise if anyone walks by or is rolling a big cart down the hallway. Wanted to stay here and do it because this is my first time at Dodger Stadium. Awesome place, magical place. You definitely feel it. Almost feels like you're going back in time, like a 1950s type feel. But it'd take me about 15 minutes to walk out to the Uber pickup and then about 25 minutes to get back to the hotel, and you guys would be asleep. We're doing this here. We are doing this live. What a game today, man. It felt like we were right back in September, I think, where the Tigers got down, maybe didn't have that much punch, but kind of just kept getting dudes on base, just kept clawing. And by the ninth, I was like, they're going to win this, aren't they? Like, I've just become accustomed to that. For the most part, a pretty well-played game, a couple costly mistakes. Obviously, the home run balls. Torkelson's out at the plate, even though he otherwise had a great day. Loom's kind of large. In a way, it lost stings. In a way, hey, you played well. You played just like you did down the stretch. And if you keep at least generating some base runners, you're going to have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Yeah. No, I was going to say that. I mean, I think you're right. I think there's obviously no reason to hit the panic button already, right? In game one, I mean, there was some things that I think that the things you can kind of highlight and take some positives from, like you just mentioned, getting the base runners out there. That's going to be key. I think eventually I think this is the type of baseball this team is kind of built for. Scratch and runs across. It's not always going to be that 3-run homer. Doing a really good job of getting those base runners out there. Just going to have to start finding a way to get in those timely hits, to bring those dudes in.
Yeah, they worked Blake Snell, Cody, and Austin. They worked them basically the entire game, and like that was one of the things that I had identified and pointed out early on is that like really anytime the Tigers are facing a lefty, especially like a lefty of the caliber of Blake Snell, that means you're not having Kerry Carpenter in your lineup. That means AJ Hinch is basically kind of waiting, and we saw it. Like he's just waiting to throw all these lefties back out there into the batter's box. And so like you want to get to these guys as fast as possible, and they did a good job of working their way toward that while having the opportunities to and eventually do like getting yourself a lead. So like in that way, if you're like a process person, which we know the Tigers are a process oriented team, like this is a positive, not going to call it a W because it is a win-loss, league, but it is a positive element for the team. And, to just kind of put a number on this runners aspect that Austin touched on, 0-15 with runners in scoring position. That feels like an anomaly. The Dodgers had 2 at-bats with runners in scoring position. If you're into like made-up analytical or Twitter metrics, like I think I saw that the Tigers had like an 87% like chance to win it without bad luck, basically. And so like these kinds of things happen. And that's not to mention, Cody, and I think we can go here now, not nearly the caliber of start from Tarik Skubal that you just are going to bank on getting when you go into an outing with Skubal. 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, only 2 strikeouts. He was leaving balls over. He got away with some pitches too, so it's not like he got killed for every mistake he made. But obviously not as sharp as what you're going to expect Skubal to be on a regular basis.
Yeah, in the first inning, he got away with a middle fastball to Shohei Ohtani that Ohtani rolled over. And then he threw one to Mookie Betts. That Betts hammered, but, Riley Green was able to catch it. And I kind of was like, okay, you're lucky to get away with that. This is Skubal. I bet he's going to dial in and cruise now. And that didn't quite happen. I mean, the stuff was still good. He was still good, but he didn't generate as much swing and miss as he normally would. And for whatever reason, the command was just off. He kept throwing center cut stuff. Tommy Edman hammered one. He gave up some other loud contact. And then Teoscar Hernández, the 3-run homer, that was kind of the decisive blow. I was talking to Tarik after the game, and he said it, like, that was 2020 me, not me now. It did remind you of a young Tarik Skubal just leaving the ball over the plate. I don't know if there's any more grand explanation to it. This is baseball. Sometimes that's going to happen. But it is a little bit, I don't want to say worrisome, but you just know Skubal does have a history in his younger days of giving up a lot of homers. The home run ball did him in the playoffs. You hope he's able to get away from that like he did the vast majority of last season.
Yeah, so this game tonight was on ESPN. They're not going to be on ESPN every night, Cody and Austin. So if you want to watch the Tigers, there is a new exciting opportunity to watch the Tigers. You can now stream the Tigers games through FanDuel Sports Network, and if you use promo code BASEBALL30, you can start it off with a 30-day extended free trial at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. Expires 5/2/25, $19.99 per month after free trial. Cancel during free trial to avoid charges. Eligibility restrictions apply. So, the kind of the anomaly stats and Skubal stuff was obviously really prevalent. But one of the other storylines that I wanted to react to here, prisoner of the moment, and we all acknowledge we're being prisoners of the moment right now, is that there were a lot of, I would say, second-guessable, it's not really a real term, but second-guessable roster decisions that the Tigers made in the lead up to this opening day roster, which, as we all know, is not the finishing day roster. It might not be the roster in 3 days, but it is technically the opening day roster. And I got to say, kind of every aspect of that paid off for one game in some way. So to give a quick rundown, Spencer Torkelson, we all kind of figured he was going to be on the roster, but he still entered in to spring training, I would say, with an uphill climb. To his credit, he made it. What did he do today? He had 4 walks and a home run, base running blunder, which you mentioned. By the way, that's something I would go back to a lot last season. Everybody remembers last season when he came back to the major leagues. I was like, I think he's seen the ball a little bit better because he's walking more. So maybe this is a continuation of that. Who knows? But he did have 4 today. Seems like a lot, plus the home run, obviously. Ryan Kreidler, center fielder. We'll talk about center field here in a second. Center fielder, not a lot of experience there. He runs down a ball that had a, what was it, Cody, 10% chance of being caught over there in deep right center. That was a great play. He did have a hit as well. Manuel Margot, what does he do? 2 for 3. He's got a ribby. He did exactly. Why is he in the lineup? Because he hits lefties. What did he do? He hit lefties today, And Gleyber Torres also, he was a 2 for 5 from the, at the plate today. So it's like he's not a roster bubble guy, but, in terms of the decisions to bring guys in, Colt Keith looked fine defensively today in terms of the configuration of the infield. A lot of the loud roster decisions played out positively for the front office and the coaching staff today. So again, prisoner of the moment. I thought that was part of what we saw today.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's going to be debatable for the next month until you get your guys back healthy. In a way, we saw the good and the bad, right? Kreidler makes a catch that maybe would have been a triple, and maybe that leads to the Dodgers scoring another run. Terrific catch. Kreidler also punched with 2 guys in scoring position. And you can't place too much on one at bat, but we did see the need for the Tigers to have hitters in their lineups. When you go over 15 with runners in scoring position, yeah, some of that's the randomness of baseball, but I don't know. Wouldn't have mind seeing Justin Henry Malloy in that lineup today. Maybe he laces one or draws a timely walk, and things can change. So, but one thing I did want to say on that, like, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Kreidler being on the team and playing center, I think the Tigers aren't just doing this because they feel like that's the call. Like, I'm sure they ran some sort of projections and have a lot of numbers that have led them to believe that Kreidler's defense will save them more runs than maybe Malloy's bat would generate runs. Now, like, if the projections are reality, who knows? But, like, I think that's important to note. I don't think it's just Scott Harris and A.J. Hinch just being like, no, I like outfield defense. I think there's a little more that goes into it than that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. I mean, because that's really important, what you said about being able to take away runs as opposed to the bat being able to generate the runs. And sometimes that's kind of, the odds that you're playing there. You're hoping that, hey, this guy is really good defensively, and we know that he's going to take away runs more than he's going to give back runs. So that's a really good point there.
Well, also, I was going to ask you, now it did not play out today, but one of the kind of funny statistical quirks of last year's Tiger squad was that Javier Baez, while having, poor offensive numbers, across the board, actually did have some pretty decent runners in scoring position numbers. Now, it was like, what did that really mean? I don't know, but it was also kind of fun to look at. So I'm just kind of curious, and this is as prevalent as ever, considering that the team was 0 for 15 with runners in scoring position. Is there a difference going to the plate with a runner, second and first with 0 outs, second and third with 1 out, whatever, runners in scoring position? Is that take us into the batter's box mentality in those situations, especially when this is a close game? This was a close game throughout. Every single time you came up to the plate with runners in scoring position, it was going to be, a big moment, if you would. So if you could just kind of take us through it. Is there a change? Should there be a change? Should there not be a change in the mindset and all that stuff, in those kind of situations?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about, like, these guys, they practice this situation over and over and over again in batting practice. So these guys, they know what to do, but you got to take into account that they don't have a Snell pitching as well. You know what I mean? This guy really, bared down when he needed to and made pitches when he needed to. And that's the thing that's tough, because you do get those runners out there. And I think as a hitter, your mindset is really to you can kind of sacrifice power a little bit in those situations, try to drive the ball to the opposite field, to get that runner in. Miguel Cabrera was really good at that, by letting that ball travel and going the other way with runners in scoring position. So that might have to be something that they have to start, trying to implement a little bit, is, letting that ball travel and go the other way. But it is tough, because when you get in there, you know that the job at hand and what you're trying to do is make solid contact. But like I said, when you got Snell up there, painting the corners in those situations, really bearing down with runners in scoring position, making tough pitches. Guys are doing their best to try to barrel some of those balls up, and you're having to hit a pitcher's pitch. He's not giving you anything to hit in those situations. So what you're trying to see the ball, but you're also probably hitting some pitches that are, out of, your comfort zone with driving the ball. So I think like I said, he bared down when the runners are on. And I think that's, you got to tip your hat to situations.
Yeah, I'm always kind of torn on runners in scoring position stats and how much they matter. Like 0 for 15 today, but they were 4 for 42 over 5 games in the ALDS. Generally, we're taught to think that, like, hitting with runners in scoring position isn't really that sticky. Like, you can go look at almost every hitter year by year, and the numbers are kind of volatile, because you may have 500 plate appearances, only 100 are with runners in scoring position. So, the numbers by the very nature are going to be a little more up and down. At the same time, when a team struggles with runners in scoring position, I look at the bottom half of the Tigers order right now, Javi Baez, Jake Rogers, Ryan Kreidler. Maybe it makes sense that you wouldn't have great numbers with runners in scoring position. So I don't think it's extreme as like they're going to go 0 for 15 every night or even 4 for 42 again. They probably will have a night soon where they go 6 for 7. But it can still speak a little bit to the offensive holes that the team does have.
Sure, and at the same time, I'll just, for the sake of not trying to seem like I'm shining a spotlight on management here, I'll also mention that, Colt Keith did not have a great day at the plate today, and if we're just doing, again, a lot of this stuff is tongue in cheek. It's a late night on a Thursday, but if we're gonna do like some second guessing,
we lost Ajax here.
We lost Ajax. See if we can get him back on while we're doing this live.
Talking about analytics, he was like.
But as we try to get Ajax back on, I was gonna say like the Torkelson play where he's obviously going at the sound of Wood hitting the ball, right, and it turns out to be less than a swinging bunt from Colt Keith. But that was a bad at bat by Colt Keith. And again, it's Blake Snell. So Austin pointing out it's Blake Snell is 100% like valid. But we're still gonna say like he was way behind on what, a 94 mile an hour fastball. Then he was behind the 8-ball, metaphorically speaking. You didn't. And then you're setting up off speed, and you're just out of that at bat, more or less, if you're not going to be able to connect on a middle end fastball that's 94 against Blake Snell. Like, it's just like, it's going to be hard to recover from that at bat. And he did not recover there. So, like, as much as like the Spencer Torkelson, base running blunder is loud in that situation, and when you lose by 1 run, that is a loud situation. I was like, I just didn't love that at bat. And then it brings like to point is like, you probably wager that Jahan has a better at bat there. Does he have more success? Maybe he strikes out. I don't know, but he's probably not like late swinging a 94 mile an hour fastball. So again, it's not even like some like Colt Keith sucks or whatever thing. It's just that if we're going to do the second guessing and that's something that we're going to try to do kind of tongue-in-cheek throughout the season. It's just like second-guessing everything. That would be one that I could second-guess,
Yeah. It was a bad night for Colt Keith. There's no way around that. Pretty much all 5 plate appearances, he looked kind of lost. At the same time, I am kind of puzzled at like the dislike for Colt Keith that's popping up on X these days. Look, I know he hits too many ground balls. He's also really young. He has great hitting aptitude. Power comes last is the old scouting adage. Like, I don't know if he's going to be, a 30 homer first base masher, but I think he's a good ball player. He's proven he's adjustable at the plate. I remember last year when he signed the pre-debut extension, and Scott or Colt, one of them said kind of like, oh, well, this takes the pressure off. Now you don't have to worry about the money. And I was kind of like in the back of my head going, it takes the pressure off that, but in a way, now there's a microscope. Now there's a spotlight on you. Anytime you have a bad game, you're going to hear, oh, this is the guy we signed to an extension. Now he is more locked into this roster and playing first base probably than other players because of his contract stature. I don't think the Tigers should bench Colt Keith or whatever, but it's just kind of an interesting reflection. You got to hope he makes an adjustment and performs better than he did because the opener was kind of rough.
Which I think he will, and we got Austin back now. So everybody, it sometimes
what happened.
That's technology. That's okay. We roll with it.
All right.
And so like with Colt Keith, like the only reason I kind of bring that up, because I'm not going to bring it up every time he goes 0-4, but the only reason I bring it up is that he is just like Riley Green, who Riley Green. It's not like he tore the cover off on 1 for 5 day. But like Colt Keith, he has a position change. He's playing first base, and he's a lefty, and he is still penciled in as of now to get a lot of starts against left-handed pitching. So therefore, like we're just gonna bring it up, just of note. It's just of note. So yeah, like there's. I didn't love Gleyber's defense today either.
Told you guys.
So like but I did like his base running aggressiveness. on multiple facets. So that like that was an aggressive send there the first time he got on, and so like we saw enough, because one of the things that I was curious about was the year to year, whether you can carry over, like, we're going to be aggressive on the base pass, and we're going to make pitching our, like, matchup pitching like our thing, and like all these, the formula for last year, how much of that carries over year to year. Not everything does carry over. Austin knows better than us, obviously, but like there are certain things that can, and it seems like they are intent on making like the base running aggressiveness part of it. I'm for that. I know Austin's for that. So that was overall good to see. We're gonna get to center field talk here in a second, but first we wanted to have a player spotlight for the rest of the series. And again, just like last time, Cody, we're playing the hits. We're not going to overthink this. All right. So last year, the Tigers had Jack Flaherty. They signed him for agency, and then they traded him to the Dodgers. And what does he do? He goes to win the World Series ring. So what's his first outing of the 2025 season? He's going to play the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium. It's also World Series ceremony, ring ceremony night. So he's going to get his ring and then have to go out and shove. So it's going to be a lot for Jack Flaherty. By the way, Jack Flaherty, opponents hit like 215 against him in Dodger Stadium. It's obviously one of the stadiums that he's had the most starts in. I think it's like third behind Busch and Comerica. That makes sense, right? So Jack Flaherty is our player spotlight. Cody, you've been around Jack throughout spring. You probably saw him bouncing around today. Can you kind of glean anything about like what to expect from Jack this season? We didn't talk a lot about him in spring, but he just, because he's Jack, you just kind of expect him to kind of do his thing. You know what I mean? But like tomorrow's going to be an interesting day for him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not only did he play for the Dodgers, he's an LA kid. Like he was born and raised in this area. One funny thing about Jack, he used to talk about how he never pitched well when his mom was in attendance, and she was at that Cardinals game last year where he K'd like 11 guys. Yeah. He's like, that was the first time I've ever pitched well in front of my mom. Well, then he ended up pitching in front of his mom a lot. She's in LA. She's at all these games, and it worked out for him. So I don't know if she'll be there, but I would imagine there's a good chance. Also, we don't even know how he's getting this ring. They're going to have a pregame ceremony while he's like warming up in the bullpen. They're not pulling him out to do that. So we don't know if he'll get it like after, or maybe the next day he'll have his own ceremony. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. But talking to Jack, if you've ever seen an interview with him, you know how he is. He's he keeps it cool, acting like it's no big deal. Yeah, it's fun. It's special. Doesn't really elaborate a ton more than that. So I think it means a lot to him, both to get that ring, both to be back in this ballpark. But yeah, hard to know what's really going on in his mind sometimes.
Well, you can stream that game through the FanDuel Sports Network, and you can stream all Tigers games through the FanDuel Sports Network. If you use promo code BASEBALL30, you can start off with a 30-day extended free trial at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. Expires 2/5/2025, $19.99 a month after free trial. Cancel during free trial to avoid charges. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit FanDuelSportsNetwork.com for details. All right, Cody, against all odds, also, we saw Riley Green play some center field today, and this is where take long. This is where we got to bring the expertise of Austin in here. And one of the many things that we turn to him for is that there's this narrative going around, Austin, that like the Tigers want to preserve, I guess is a way to put it, preserve Riley Green's body. He's 24 years old. He is a capable center fielder. It's not his best outfield position. We know that. But when you're down 4 in your major league 40-man-ish organization, like that's a pretty good fifth option, I think, is how I would phrase it. But the Tigers seem intent on limiting that, and it's about, Scott Harris said this earlier this week, just not overextending basically Riley. He didn't use Riley's name, but that's basically what he's talking about. And so I'm curious your perspective on this, Austin. It's just like, how rigorous is center field compared to the corners? And even though they haven't played at Comerica yet, eventually they will, especially at Comerica. And like, is there, like, how much merit is there to like the preservation of the body, not wanting to kind of like overextend a guy like Riley Green by having him play, we'll say, like 30 games beginning of year, like in center field?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's capable of doing it, right. And I know we've kind of spoke on this before about, different body types out there in center field. And then you got a guy like Aaron Judge, who's 280 pounds playing center field. So you're like, okay, never mind, body types don't work. But no, but I mean, I do get it. I mean, center field, you're putting a lot of miles pretty much every game, every practice out there in center field. So there's a lot of toll that goes on to the legs. And when you got a guy that can drive the ball like him, that might be something where you don't want to put those extra miles on his legs, maybe to take away that possibly could take away a little, power at the plate. I've heard that with older guys as well, but, obviously he's not an older guy. But I think, giving him some innings out there, definitely getting some experience, because you never know, that might be a position that he might have to hold down, for a little bit. So I think that he's capable of doing it. But I do understand why the Tigers are cautious with it, because there's a lot more running, there's a lot more opportunity to get injured. Playing center field, there's a lot more. You're a lot more involved in the game. So where is his IQ level, in center field? Is he capable of, playing a full game in center field and also, staying locked in at the plate? Because there's going to be times where, you're not hitting. And as we talked about earlier, can your glove, save runs and not give runs back? Is he capable of doing that? I'm not sure if we've seen him at, full extent being able to play center field. So we don't know that until he gets out there. But I think that being able to preserve him, I think, for as long as possible, his legs, and especially when a lot of guys are down, I think it's going to be key, because, you're running the most out there. That's the most running on the field, center field, and you're going in each and every gap. You're coming forward. It's a lot more wear and tear on the body. And I think if you want to keep him healthy, for a full season, I think it is kind of smart to just kind of give him some innings out there, but not fully just, dive into that where he's our center fielder now. And
we know he will dive. He is a diver.
Yeah, he's laying out. He's laying out. I've seen it plenty of times. And that's a big boy again, It's a big boy. That's a lot of weight hitting the ground. You got to think about that. And then again, we talk about Mike. You look at Mike Trout. This dude's 240 out there. But these are different body types. Riley. He's a big country fed looking dude. You know what I mean? Like he hits that ground hard. It's like, dang, you didn't kind of brace for it. You just body just hit, no bounce or nothing, just bang. So
I'm from himself, maybe, yeah.
I just think, question, Austin. One thing they were working on, or like telling him last year, was, hey, when you dive, stop like being 6 feet in the air, like slide low to the ground. But I'm like, can you slide, control that? Like when you're going for a ball, like I feel like that's just reaction.
No, it is. That's what I'm saying. I think that it's something that you just consciously have to be aware of, as knowing that, hey, I can't keep diving like this, hitting this ground day in and day out. I mean, it's a lot of pounding on the body, and it does start to take, it takes its toll on you. 162 games and you're hitting the ground like that. And he's a guy like you just said, he likes to dive. So I don't think you want to take that out of him, though. You like that aggressiveness. I like guys to dive, even though I never did. I didn't really know how. I felt like I was gonna miss the ball. So, but I like seeing guys lay out and giving that extra effort. But again, we talk about the body types and him hitting that ground like that, and in a big spacious center field, and then also you're relying on this guy to go up to the plate and thump. So he has to have his legs under him. So like I said, it'd be tough to just give him that because some of the things that we're talking about, but I think that he's capable of stepping in and filling that role when it's needed.
Yeah, and maybe that's the ultimate thing for AJ Hinch to have in his back pocket is that with all these other configurations that I'm working with on any given game, it's like I can't put Riley in center field for a couple innings and it's going to be okay, and that allows me to put Kerry Carpenter in left field. You know what I mean? So it's like maybe that's an underrated part of how they view the construction of this roster as of now. So I mean it everything affects everything, as the great Mike Yurcich, former Oklahoma State offensive coordinator, used to say. Everything affects everything. All right, Cody, Austin, anything else you guys wanted to add before we jet out of here?
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited. It was exciting. I was at my little boy's baseball game in the outfield. They needed an extra center fielder, so I was going hard on these boys. Hey, it was a tough day to hit the ball to center at 8U. Oh, don't hit it. Hey, I was clouding the boys, but I'm watching the game. I'm running down balls, just catching them. They're mad. I'm laughing. I'm looking at the phone but it was cool. I was like, man, I can't wait to kind of go back because, just looking at this team, it's fun. It's going to be a fun team. I think it's going to be a fun team, a very competitive team that, I think you're seeing the brand of baseball that this team is capable of playing. Like they're capable of going deep in these games like this and manufacturing runs once they start doing that. But them just showing themselves that, look, we're capable at the end of the game to give ourselves an opportunity to win. That's what you want ultimately. We know this isn't like the big three. They're gonna clip a couple 3-run home runs and get ahead like that. But I think for the majority of the time, it's going to be those close games, those hard-fought games, and they're going to have to manufacture some runs. So I like that brand of baseball. And this team is built to where there's so many intermingling pieces, and anybody can step in and play third base or short or center field. So that's fun to watch. You got guys constantly moving. It's just a different brand of baseball that I'm excited to see these guys play. So.
Well put.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Well, we can't wait to watch the rest of it. And I'm not saying we're the best podcast out there, but I guarantee you we're the only one that has a combination of a guy at Dodger Stadium and a guy who was watching the game while shagging fly balls for his son's select team. So I guarantee you that combination doesn't exist anywhere else. So we have a lot of fun doing this even late on a Thursday night. I hope you guys can see that and hear that as you listen. I want to thank everybody for listening, subscribing, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you listen to your podcast. 5-star review if you feel so inclined. We definitely appreciate it, and we are just getting started. So for Austin Jackson, Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great weekend.